Hi, I'm Jill Casper with Mid-Minnesota Federal Credit Union and the Bridges Speakers Bureau. Today we're going to discuss credit and credit cards. So a couple facts for you. Nearly 33% of teens owe money to either a person or a company with an average debt of around $230. About 26% of teens ages 16 to 18 already have more than $1,000 in debt. Many of them don't even know how they got there. So let's talk about what this looks like and some of the key terms. So what is credit? It's an arrangement to receive cash, goods, and services now and pay for them later. The grace period is if I borrow money from you, I have a certain amount of time I can pay that back without any penalties or any fees. So that's that grace period. A finance charge, you'll hear that term, the total dollar amount a person pays to use the credit. APR, or annual percentage rate, is the total cost to use the credit in a year. So this is how much we're going to charge you for that loan. And it depends on how risky you are. If you have a low credit score or no credit, we're going to charge you more for that loan, just in case. If you've got a good credit history and have paid your bills on time, we're going to charge you less. And if you want to, you can go back and look at the credit score video that we did. The term of the loan, how long you have to repay the loan, often expressed in months. So a car loan is typically going to be 48 months. Now with your credit cards, there's really no loan payoff date on those. The principal is how much do you originally borrow or how much do you still owe at any time. Fees, there are going to be fees to use the credit. That's how the creditor, your bank or the credit card company, makes their money. So for some credit cards, they have an annual credit card fee, a cost to use that card. I believe I was looking at one from US Bank the other day and it was $500 a year just to have the card. Now you've got a lot of travel perks and things like that. I don't need those travel perks. I'm not willing to pay $500 a year for a credit card. And especially with your first credit card, you should not be paying an annual fee for that. There may be an over the limit fee. If you go over the limit of what your credit card offers, you're going to pay a fee for that. If you pay your credit card payment late, you're going to pay a fee for that. And when we look at if we're going to give you a credit card or not, we're going to look at your credit history. So that's the record of your behavior. We're going to look at your credit report, all the different transactions that you've done as it associates with that, and we're going to look at your credit score. So if we're going to issue a credit card, the annual percentage rate, which is the cost to use the card, again, is going to be determined by your credit score. If you read through all the disclosures and things like that for your credit card, there's a small term in there called universal default that many people don't know about. What that does, if I make one late payment, it allows the credit card company to raise my rate. I was reviewing a credit card statement for a student one day, and we looked through, and the universal default rate, so her rate was 10%, was the credit card APR. If she made one late payment, it went up to 26% interest for one late payment. And another term you've probably heard that is associated with credit is bankruptcy. When people file for bankruptcy, it's a legal process to get you out of debt. It is very difficult to do. When I look at who's in bankruptcy at the credit union that I work at, number one, it's people who got sick or injured and didn't have good insurance. And number two, it's people who get into terrible credit card debt and do not use their credit cards wisely. So when we look at credit and credit cards, there's two different kinds of credit that you'll hear. One is called installment credit. And what installment credit is, that's going to be like your car loan or your home loan. It's going to be a fixed payment. You're going to pay $100 a month on the first of the month for a certain period of time. So maybe for 5 years. That's your car loan. Your interest rates usually aren't going to be changed. When I sign that loan document, I'm going to pay 5% interest on that loan. So that's the cost that we're charging you to borrow you that money. The next kind of credit that we're talking about today is called revolving credit, and that's what your credit cards are. There's really no stated payoff time. So if you apply for a credit card, there's going to be a limit to that. So when I have that credit card in my hand, for your first credit card, they'll probably give you a $500 limit. You can never use that credit card for more than $500 without paying it off. You have to make a minimum monthly payment on that card. And they're going to give you a date that it is due by, and you want to make sure that it gets paid in time, because number one, you don't want universal default. Number two, you don't want one of those fees. Usually it's going to be a percentage of your balance, and your interest rates are going to vary or not. So you're going to get an interest rate when you apply and get your card. And then, for example, at Mid-Minnesota, every year we run every credit card holder's credit report and look at their credit score. If your credit score has gone down, we're going to raise the interest rate on that card because you're riskier. Now, if your credit score has gone up, we're going to lower the rate on your credit card. My advice is if you have a credit card, you pay it off every single month. If you pay it off every month within that grace period that we talked about, you will pay no interest on that credit card. Now, credit cards can be really helpful. Credit cards can be helpful to build your credit score. Credit cards are helpful. We recommend that if you're buying online, because if for some reason the bad guys get your credit card number, all you're doing is shutting that credit card down. And if I use my debit card, which is attached to my checking account online, and the bad guys get that, now they've got my checking and savings account money. A credit card is also the fastest way to destroy your credit. If you do not use it wisely, if you overuse credit, if you get too many credit cards, and we call that max them out. So if I've got a $500 credit card and I charge $500 and I only pay $25 payment on that, I'm using a lot of that credit. That's actually going to bring my credit score down. So we recommend that if you have to carry a balance from month to month, because maybe something happened, maybe you can't afford to pay it all off, that you never carry over 30% of that balance. That's going to help keep your credit score in a good standing. So where can you get a credit card? You can go to your bank. You can go to your local credit union. If you check out at any department store around, they're going to say, do you have our Kohl's card yet? Know that those department store cards are great for getting you coupons. Their intent is, if you have a Kohl's card per se, that you're going to shop more at Kohl's. Those interest rates on those store cards are extremely high, no matter what your credit score is. I think the base of most of those is about 24% interest. So if I charge on that and I carry a balance to the next month, I'm going to pay 24% in fees of what I carry over. They're very, very expensive credit cards to have. Another source of credit, if you're looking for a car, you can go to your car dealer. Gas stations offer their own credit cards. Another source of credit, your student loans, is going to be the federal government. So there's lots of different places to get different kinds of credit. The graph that you're going to see right now is using a credit card with an interest rate of about 24% interest. Okay, so maybe this is a store card. And your payment that you're going to make is going to be 4% of your balance. There's a minimum payment. If you max out your card and only make the minimum payment, here's what it looks like. So if I have a balance of $2,000, which it does not take long to get a balance of $2,000 if you're in college and you put your books on there and you go out to eat and you do a couple other things, $2,000 happens very quickly. If you make that minimum payment, it will take you 11 years and 6 months to pay it off. You will be charged $1,850 in interest. So the total cost of that $2,000 semester is going to cost you $3,850. And that's if you never charge on that card again. And you're just making those payments. Here's an example of $6,000. Average credit card debt in the United States right now is $10,000 per household. But they're carrying a $10,000 balance over every single month. So if, in this example, if I have $10,000 in credit card debt, it will take 18 years and 2 months to pay it off, longer than most of you have been alive. You'll pay $9,850 in interest. So your $10,000 in debt, you paid on it for almost 20 years, will cost you about $20,000. And what do you have to show for it? So I want you to think that if I am putting pizza on that credit card, how long am I going to be paying for that pizza? How long am I going to be paying for that pair of shoes? Do I need that? The financial consequences of debt gives you a false sense of wealth, is the best way I can say it. It makes me able to compete with my friends that have more money or nicer clothes. It'll put you in a state of overspending. And once you start that habit of overspending, it is very difficult to stop. We'll see people that will come in here that have a ton of credit card debt, and they're paying very high interest rates where they really can't get out of it. So what they will do is they will take a mortgage on their house out, pay off the credit card debt, and we sit down with them and we cancel all these cards out as part of that. Like, you have to cancel all the cards out. More often than not, within 2 years, they're back again in that same habit. So I tell you this because as a new borrower, as somebody who's maybe just going to get their first card, you have a choice of utilizing that card to build your credit and use for emergencies. When my 2 daughters moved out, we got them each a $500 credit card because as they're going back and forth between Duluth and Fargo, I wanted to make sure that they always had access to money if they needed it. Now, we also set it up with them where every single month, the full amount of the balance got paid off from their savings account. So they knew at the end of the month that whatever they put on that card would come out of their savings account at the end of the month. So my oldest daughter, who's extremely responsible, only used it for gas. She only used her credit card for gas. And again, she wanted to use that card because she was trying to build her credit. It was a great habit for her, and she's 24 years old right now and still pays her credit card off every single month and has a great credit score. Again, I think I talked about this before. The more you use your credit, the higher your balances are, it's going to lower your credit score. And every time that you apply for a credit card, it's going to lower your credit score. Now, you'll be able to get that back, but if you say you go to the Mall of America and every store you walk into, you apply for that card, that's going to be a hit to your credit score. So here's some tips for using your credit. Pay your bills on time and know your due dates, especially with your credit score. Especially for your first card, use only free, low-interest cards. Don't take the cards that come in the mail, right? Because they are blatantly sending you things because you're a young teen. Often what I have found, if you've applied for student loans, you're going to get a Discover student card application in the mail. There must be some relationship there. So take a look. And you shouldn't be paying an annual fee for that first card. My suggestion is, if you like your local bank that you're in right now, go to that financial institution and get their credit card. The benefit of that is you can make your payment at the teller line. You can call into their call center and make your payment. You can go into the online banking system and make your payment right there. And if you have problems with your card or something happens, if you have a good relationship with your financial institution, you can walk in the door and they can help you with it. Now, as you get older, maybe different cards work better for you, but my suggestion always is start with your local financial institution. If for some reason that you can't pay the full amount, always pay more than that minimum balance. You want to get those balances down. Review your statement every month. So whether you get your statement online, whether you get your statement in the mail, and even if you have not used your credit card that month, look at your statement. Fraud is crazy right now. So you may not even know that your card was used. My story with this is that when my son was in 6th grade, he broke his leg. And so it was in the wintertime, and for a while he couldn't go out and do things. So I bought him an Xbox to be able to play with his friends. Well, I didn't realize when we set up the Xbox that my credit card was attached to his account. That credit card I didn't really use, and so wasn't really checking the statements or anything like that. And I get a call from the credit union that says, "Hey, you're kind of getting too close to your balance." I'm like, "How can I be close to my balance?" He had been buying different gun packs and different tools to help him win these games to the tune of $2,000. So I bore some responsibility in that for not checking my statements. So they would give me my last 30 days back, but would not give me anything back because I hadn't looked at my statements and filed those. Look at those statements every single month to make sure that you don't have fraud. And if you see fraud, call right away, cancel that card, and they can issue you a new one. Again, credit can be really useful for creating a good credit history, for building up that credit score that you'll need in the future if it's used wisely. If you are not a good budgeter, if you don't feel that you will be able to handle a credit card, please don't please don't get one until you have a really good budgeting plan down and how you plan to pay that off every month before you even consider getting a card. So if you have any questions, please feel free to call your financial institution, call Mid-Minnesota, go online and take a look. Good luck. Happy credit.
To learn more, visit bridgesconnection.org/speakers.